Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my May wrap-up. Yes, I'm fully aware that we're halfway through June and I'm finally getting around to this, but you know what, I'm busy, mate. So I read a couple of books, well, technically 3-ish books, although a couple of them, no, one of them I did straight into June. So I read OK Days by Jenny Mustard. It's like a contemporary romance novel. I thought it was alright. It kind of felt a bit like Summer with Monica, which is kind of interesting because the writer's actually Swedish. Like, she's actually a, YouTuber, and I do enjoy her videos, so I was like, oh, okay, I'll read her book. It was pretty good. Very, kind of Sally Rooney vibes, but a little bit less pretentious. But yeah, just kind of, it was an audiobook that I listened to while I was getting ready for work in the morning and driving to work. So it kind of is an easygoing study on romantic relationships in contemporary London. Then the next book I read was The Book of X by Sarah Rose Etta. Another audiobook. This was alright. It was kind of like surreal magical realism. The premise is that there's these women in a particular family, and it's only the women in this family, have physical knots in their stomachs. So literally there is a knot, which is very much like a kind of a metaphor for the anxieties of being a woman, the pressure and things like that. And it was alright. There's certain things I kind of enjoyed, the surrealism and the magical realism. For example, the father of the main character works in a meat quarry and he literally digs bleeding meat out of the ground. So some of the surreal elements felt very kind of fairy tale-esque, which I love. But the writing did kind of feel like it was overwrought and trying hard to be beautiful. But it's an interesting kind of feminist look at women's place in society, the anxieties of that, body image, reproductive rights and stuff like that, and gender roles. Then I read another audiobook. It's called Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead by Emily Austen. I have a weird death anxiety, and so this felt very kind of like it would be me in a mirror, and for some of it, yeah, basically the way I think about things sometimes is really kind of unhealthy, and the obsession I have with death is a bit strange. So the idea of this protagonist thinking about death and knowing that everyone in the room that she's currently in will someday be dead is very much my kind of thing. The book was alright. It was kind of amusing. Again, another easygoing, I think I don't mind easygoing books on audio, but I probably would have got bored reading it as a physical book. That's just, I guess, the kind of way that I work with literature. I prefer more challenging material on paper and something light-hearted, and well, light-hearted, everyone will be dead in this room. It's kind of like a light-hearted take on mental health and things like that. I don't know if light-hearted is the word. It's like a comedic look at shit mental health. Yeah, so it was alright. That's it. And then the final book that I read in May / the beginning of June was none other than Julia Armfield's new book, Private Rites, which I got as a advanced reader copy from NetGalley and literally finished the day after it was released. I'm so bad at keeping up with things. Ugh, gross. But yeah, so it tells the story of 3 sisters who happen to be queer, and they have a sort of estranged relationship with each other, as well as with their father, who is a renowned architect who has died. And as if that wasn't enough material to chew on, we're also in the midst of a slow apocalypse, which is basically, it doesn't stop raining, sea levels are rising, and there is just so much lack of hope in this book, and I fucking loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I thought the way that Armfield writes about sisters and sisterhood is so believable. Relationships as well, it was just so intriguing to kind of delve into their little worlds, because you get POV chapters from each of the sisters for most of the book, and then a few other characters. And then also there are passages in the third person about the city itself, so it's kind of telling you what's going on and the anxieties of the mass of people about these weather problems and the slowly rising sea levels and people finding barnacles on their roofs and stuff like that. And when I was reading this, most of the days I was reading it on, it was raining. And then there was like a news report about like, oh, this summer's going to be like 50 days of rain. And I was just thinking, ew, are the end times coming? And it kind of feels like apocalyptic nowadays anyway. But yeah, I really enjoyed the atmosphere of this novel, and just Julia Armfield is literally one of my favourite authors working at the moment because of just her material, the complexity of the characters and their interworking with each other. The themes in this book kind of spoke to me as well, like architecture, relationships, end of the world, the hope of existence in hard times like these. I just thought it was very rich storytelling, and I definitely recommend it. So that's my recommendation out of all the books I've read in May/June. Read that one. I'm currently reading Black Holes by Brian Cox and Jeff Forshaw. Nice bit of non-fiction about one of my biggest anxieties ever. Black holes. I don't know why I do it to myself sometimes, but actually like I feel like I'm in a much better place to kind of distance myself from the idea of imminent death that black holes would bring. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm also currently reading the second book in Octavia Butler's Lilith's Brood novels, or, well, trilogy, or as it's also known, the Xenogenesis series. I'm about halfway through the book. I was like devouring it, but then I got Private Rites as an arc and I was like, oh, I need to read this quickly because it's my most anticipated book of the year. And I only got it like a few weeks before it was released. So then I had to pause this book, which again, flawless, obsessed with Butler's writing. The ideas that she delves into in science fiction is revolutionary of her time, and like still kind of revolutionary now. So I will talk about this book more when I've finished it, and perhaps I'm gonna do like, I don't know whether I'm like good enough at reviewing to do like deep dives into things, but I'll probably talk about the whole trilogy when I've finished, and it is fast becoming one of my favourite science fiction series anyway, so I'm sure I will talk about this a lot more in the future as well. And then the other book I'm currently reading is American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis, and I'm tabbing. The tabs basically this time actually correspond to things. So there's a lot of recurring elements in American Psycho which drives home the meaning. So there's a lot of kind of funny moments where there's mistaken identities. Then there's like just despicable things people say. There's a lot of just horrid behaviour towards homeless people in this as well. Then I've got tabs for materialistic speak. There's like whole pages of talking about products and brands and things. Like the description of Patrick Bateman's apartment is so boring, but that's the point. Yeah, I kind of I'm really enjoying this, but again I paused American Psycho because this came in at my library and you only have 3 weeks to read things. Then I had to pause this one because of Julia Armfield's book. I've managed to like extend my loan on this, so I'll finish this, then I'll get back to American Psycho. But yeah, really enjoying the books I'm currently reading, which is fabulous. Like, I just love when that happens. So that is the end of the book section. Now let's talk about the 100 billion French movies I watched in May / other movies. So the first film I saw was Love Lies Bleeding, which is by Rose Glass. Yeah, by Rose Glass. So it's a lesbian love story starring Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien. One of the women are a bodybuilder, the other one works at a gym as a manager. They fall in love. But it's a dark story because there's revenge in it. There's Kristen Stewart's character's father is like this shady fucking evil man. And I really enjoyed it. I went to see it in the cinema. Weirdly, the whole cinema was just full of dudes. I was on my own and I was the only female in the showing. Yeah, well, we all know why they were there. And, like, there was one guy kind of laughing at the ending because there's like a moment of magical realism / surrealism, and I guess they just couldn't understand. I don't really like feeling like being pretentious and be like, oh, you just didn't understand it, bro. But yeah, like, I thought it was a pretty decent movie. Then I saw some French movies. I'm not going to talk about all of them because some of them are a bit shit. Petit Paysan, or Bloody Milk, which is not the same as the literal French title. The literal French title would be Little Farmer. Bloody Milk. And this is directed by Hubert Charel. And this is like an agricultural thriller. And it's basically about this guy who works on a farm that he's inherited from his parents. And he has cows. And there's currently a pandemic sweeping Belgium where cows are dying, or they're bleeding profusely. I guess that's where bloody milk comes from. And they have a virus and then they die. And then it spreads to other cows and it basically decimates your whole livestock. But if the authorities find out and only one is infected, they'll kill the whole lot of your cattle. So this one farmer is like getting really anxious about it, and he watches so many YouTube videos about it and goes down like a rabbit hole. And then one day one of his cows gets infected and he's like, oh shit. So, bright idea comes sparking into his mind. He decides to kill it. And so then he has to kind of disguise the fact that he's done this. And then just things keep rolling and rolling. And he gets so kind of anxious and just fucked, basically, because of just how far he's going to go. And, like, how far do you go down the rabbit hole of your lie to survive? When is it just, oh, give up, concede, kill the cows, please? But yeah, it was really good. Then I watched another film, and that is Le Bonheur. I can't speak French. I'm learning. But I can't speak it. Le Bonheur by Agnes Varda. Was this my first? No, this was my second Agnes Varda. I was going to say my first Agnes Varda. This was on Mubi, and basically it's just Men Suck, the movie. Like, when you go on Letterboxd and you look at it, only a woman could dare to make this film. So it's basically about a woman who is married and she's got 2 kids, and it's very charming the way the film's shot. Like, the colour palette in this is gorgeous, and it's basically like this seamstress who is both mother and a working woman in 60s or 70s France / Paris. And basically her husband is a bit of a toad. He starts cheating on her. I thought it was really good. And I'm glad that I'm finally getting around to watching Agnes Varda's filmography, because she's a star. It was 1965, this film. Yeah, like, really good. Watch it. Then I watched La Chimera. And this, I think, is my first Italian film, which feels outrageous as someone who's like, I love cinema, I'm a cinephile, and I've never seen Italian cinema. I've never seen, like, Italian neorealism or any of the sort of black and white legendary films. But even that, I've, like, not seen any modern films. I did try watching an Argento, a Dario Argento film, and I can't remember which one it was, and I just couldn't get into it because I think it was like a product of its time, but the audio was out of sync with the movement of mouths. That's why I don't watch dubbed shit, because it really puts me off. So I had to turn it off. And maybe I'll try again at some point in the future. But yeah, so La Chimera by Alice, I think her name is. Or how you pronounce it, Alice. It's Alice, but she's Italian, so I think it's Alice Rohrwacher. So basically, she came on my radar because I was watching a video on YouTube. I think it's like one of the Conbini ones, so it's like a French channel that basically does this tour of like a video store, and famous filmmakers or actors pick out films that have influenced them or that they think are amazing. And Bong Joon-ho, one of my favourite Korean directors, or like just director in general, starts talking about some of her movies. I was like, oh, okay, I'll keep note of her. Like, he was talking about magical realism and how beautiful the cinematography is. I was like, yes, remember that. And then I heard about this movie, La Chimera, because it's actually got Josh O'Connor in it, who is from like The Crown and obviously this year's Challengers. And so I was just very intrigued. It's set in the 80s and it's about an archaeologist who kind of has this almost supernatural power to find out where grave goods are underground by using like a stick. And yeah, it's so beautiful, this movie. And it talks about like death, life, sort of clinging on to ghosts of your past. And I just thought it was mesmerising. Stunning, beautiful cinematography, and just, yeah, it was really, really cool. I'm actually in the middle of trying to write a film review about it, because obviously it's an Italian film talking about the past through the very like tangible medium of archaeology and grave goods. So like naturally Italy's rich history comes into play with it as well, and there's like threads of mythology through this movie. So like very much there's Orpheus and Eurydice myth in this. There's also like elements of not Perseus, like the Minotaur. Theseus, is it Theseus? And like the Minotaur is like thread that gets Theseus out of the maze or something. There's elements of that in the film. There's a very moving moment where, yeah, I'm not going to say what it is, but yeah, it was just very beautiful and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm definitely going to check out more of Alice's work because I'm kind of mesmerised, and yeah, I need to check out more Italian cinema. If you're an Italian cinema lover, aficionado, please drop me some recommendations in the comments of what Italian movie I should watch next. I think Martin Eden is like one of the more modern ones that are really great, so I might try and track that down shortly. I do actually want to watch that filmmaker's latest movie, Scarlet, I think, because it's got Louis Garrel in it. One or more. But yeah, back to movies. Well, I'm still on movies. Back to movies I've watched in May. So yeah, La Chimera was so fucking stunning. A Vet by Olivier Assayas. I've been meaning to watch this for ages because it's got my girl Maggie Chen in it, playing a fictionalized version of herself. And the premise of the film is that there's a filmmaker making a remake of Les Vampires, a silent film era TV show about cat burglars called The Vampires, and Irma Vep is their leader. So the film focuses on the troubled production of said remake film, which is so ironic because recently, in the last few years, Olivier Assayas, I think, produced or directed, I'm not too sure, a remake of the film into a TV show starring Alicia Vikander, which I haven't watched yet, but I might watch soon. Which I just thought was hilarious because it's an idea of a remake of a movie, but now there's a TV show that is a remake of a movie that is about a remake of a TV show. What? But yeah, this is quite a funny look at the film industry of artists as sort of fiery, passionate people who kind of get very caught up in their own genius. Maggie Chen is amazing. Like, I literally love her, and obviously, like, she's in one of my favourite films of all time, In the Mood for Love. Yeah, so I definitely recommend watching this if you kind of like tongue-in-cheek looks at behind-the-scenes kind of things. And it's a French comedy, so it's like kind of sophisticated rather than silly, which some comedies from other countries can be, namely America. I don't know why I'm now critiquing comedy films. Oh, talking about French comedy. Then I watched a random film called Incredible But True, or Incroyable Mais Vrai, by Quentin Dupieux. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's a weirdo. He did Deerskin with Jean Dujardin a few years ago. That was wild. I think he did like a film about a tyre or something. He's a strange lunatic. And this film is equally as strange. So the main reason why I watched it is because I really like Anaïs de Moustier. She was in Inane Love and loads of other movies I've watched. So if she's in a movie, I'm more likely to watch it. And basically the film is about a middle-aged couple who move in, or they decide to move into a house because in this house there is a magical basement tunnel, and the estate agent basically reveals that, oh, if you go down this tunnel you can de-age yourself by 3 days, but you then lose 12 hours. So it's like you go forward 12 hours, but you age backwards 3 days. And so like naturally they're like, okay, yeah, we'll take it. The wife becomes obsessed. So this is commentary about women aging, looks, beauty standards. Brilliant. And she basically becomes obsessed with this hole and just keeps going down, going down, going down, going down, going down, in the hopes that she's going to de-age. And she keeps looking in the mirror. All the while, her husband is just continuing life, but he's not really seeing his wife because she is obsessed with getting younger. A parallel story. Now, this is where it just gets bizarre for no reason. But again, it's commentary on people and desires. There's another couple who are friends with this, like, the main couple via work. So the man that owns the house with the hole, his boss has a robot penis. There's no other way to say. That is controlled by an app. But basically it's the idea of satisfaction. He does this to satisfy his wife. And it's like almost like another gadget for a man to show off. And so they start talking about it at dinner because, yeah, totally, just talk about this at your dinner party. And naturally, it malfunctions and he has to have it fixed in Japan. And then just weird stuff, there's car crashes in it. The robot penis sets on fire at some point. It's a wild film if you want to watch something just a bit fucking bizarre for no other reason than it's bizarre, that it's funny, and it's an interesting commentary on modern society. Then watch Incredible but True. Incroyable mais vrai. Oh dear. And then the final film I watched in May was yet another French film, but this was actually depressing as fuck. And it's called By the Grace of God, and it's by one of my favourite filmmakers from France, François Ozon. And it's about a actual real life case that happened in France about a pervert priest who molested boys on scout trips. Disgusting. And what is interesting about this movie is literally it came out while the trial was ongoing. So in the film you don't really get a resolution because Ozon was making it. I think he was originally going to make it as a documentary, but then decided to make it a fictional movie. And the film, someone involved in the actual court case asked Ozon not to release it, or the production company not to release it, because it could sway the jury, even though the priest had already basically admitted to his wrongdoing. And heavy stuff. Trauma, the shockwaves of trauma, sexual abuse, and powerful stuff, but so depressing. And I think I watched that on BBC iPlayer. I'm not too sure if it's still on there. But yeah, moving but really harrowing. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga by George Miller. I really enjoyed this. I love Anya Taylor-Joy. I think she's fabulous, stunning, amazing. She can do no wrong in my book. Some of the outfits on her press tour for this film as well were out of this world. So yeah, like, it's a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road, which again was really great. I've not actually watched any of the old school Mad Max films, but I don't know where I can watch them, but I will watch them in the future probably. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a worthwhile prequel. The action sequence were really quite thrilling. There were moments where I was just literally on the edge of my seat, like, oh my god. There was a bit in it that I was really kind of shocked by, like the demise of a character. I was literally like, oh no, because he was a really cool character. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting. Chris Hemsworth was kind of unrecognisable because of prosthetics, but you still kind of know it's him because of Marvel movies and stuff. But yeah, I thought that was a really good performance as well. Is it as iconic as the guitar man on the front of a vehicle in Fury Road? No, but I don't think you can top that. Yeah, it was really enjoyable. I liked it. I don't really have anything to say because I've already kind of forgotten most of it. That's the kind of thing with action movies though, is they're brilliant but kind of forgettable until you watch them again and then you're like, oh yeah. Alien Covenant by Ridley Scott. And let me just tell you, I avoided this film when it came out in the cinemas because I saw the trailer and one of the scenes I just thought was preposterous. There's a sex scene and then there's the tail of a alien kind of coming into view. So ridiculous. And because of Alien Prometheus being kind of ridden with plot holes, and this one was kind of plot holey as well, But it was really quite good, and just the David is a very fascinating android, and then also the fact that there was another, I've forgotten the other android's name, but basically Michael Fassbender does an amazing performance, or dual performance in this, and just the aliens, or the xenomorphs, sort of come into being, is explored in here. Basically it's David's little experiment, and he's messing with the genetics of these aliens to create a perfect beast. And yeah, he's just a little bit of a sicko really, and that was quite entertaining. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm kind of annoyed that I didn't see it in the cinema. I didn't find it particularly scary, which I was surprised at, but I think more of the scariness kind of lies in the idea of an android kind of being out to destroy humanity, and like it was more of a psychological horror rather than alien scares. But I'm actually really looking forward to seeing the new Alien movie that's coming out this summer. Feels very much kind of, again, a rehash of all the Alien movies before it, but it looks pretty decent. So yeah, they were all the movies that I watched in May/June, and I'm going to end the video here. In terms of television, I've kind of been rewatching Orphan Black at the moment, which I love. I'm obsessed. Like, I used to be obsessed with it. I've watched it several times already, but it's because there's a new show that's come out called Orphan Black Echoes, and I did start watching it, and I was kind of like, okay, it's all right, but it's nowhere near as good as the original, and I think half of that is down to the performance of Tatiana Maslany, who basically plays so many different characters, all with distinct personalities, tics, and is literally one of the greatest television performances I've seen. Amazing, thrilling, grand conspiracy around cloning and genetics. Go watch it if you haven't already watched it. But yeah, that's basically the TV I've watched recently. My TV's also broken at the moment, like the backlight just died, so that's why I don't have a TV behind me, and I still need to buy a new one, but that hasn't stopped me from watching a shit ton of movies. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you again soon. Let me know in the comments what you've been watching, what you've been reading, and don't forget to drop those Italian movie recommendations. Bye bye.